So in this episode of Titans, the Titans themselves are captured and it's up to Rachel to save them. But through this experience, we learn quite a bit more about Trigon and get teases of Azarath. Let's dive straight into Titans Season 1, Episode 7, Asylum. How's it going, Titans? Welcome to a brand new Titans review and breakdown of Episode 7, Asylum. Now, out of all the episodes, this, I would say, was just the kind of slowest episode, or there wasn't so much that went on. Now, this doesn't negate the development we still got this episode, whether that's through Dr. Adamson and the organization, if you will, and I'm just waiting till we hear their official name, like the Church of Blood or something like that, because they're obviously trying to bring Trigon back. And that's the thing as well, we learned a little bit about Trigon, and as we were learning about that this episode, I was kind of hoping we would be getting more, but we didn't really get as much as what I was hoping for. But albeit we got to meet Rachel's mother, and things are definitely going to move from here on out with that. A lot of people are saying that Titans is more Robin and Friends, and I definitely get where people are coming from with that. But what we can't forget about with Titans Season 1, and you know, it's going on throughout the season, and you know, there's more developments happening with all the other members, but at its bottom line foundation, it's kind of about Dick Grayson leaving Batman, obviously, and finding himself and forming the Titans and himself into Nightwing. So that is why a lot of this episode to episode, or at least every other episode, there is more development or flashbacks for Robin's origin story, whether that's him being plagued by Batman, seeing Wayne Manor all over the place, or just little things like that that come back to haunt him. And in this episode towards the end, we actually got, just like last episode, the first steps into Nightwing, but we even progressed even further. But anyway, before I keep going on, subscribe to this channel, of course, for more Titans reviews and breakdowns just like this. And if you go on to enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button, as it really does help this video and the channel out. Now, as if Dr. Adamson couldn't get any weirder. I mean, last episode, he was basically knocked out most of the episode, and we learned right towards the end that he wouldn't speak to anyone but Rachel. And when Dick Grayson finally allowed Rachel to talk to him, he was just like, you know, you're going to heal the world, like, you know, you're not deaf or anything like that, and I'm just going to prove it to you by cutting my neck open, and you're going to have to heal me. Now, this was a pretty cool, now albeit graphic moment for TV, but Titans isn't like new to that at all. Rachel does end up saving Dr. Adamson. It's not the first time she's used this power either. She did it to that deer, I believe, in the Doom Patrol episode, if you remember, when Gar was there. Now, this is what I mean in terms of the dribbles and drabs we're getting in terms of the overarching Trigon storyline, but he revealed to Rachel that basically what we want to do is reunite you with your father. Nothing's going to stop that. Along the Trigon talk, he also said not even Angela Azarath could stop you, and that is where we learned, of course, about Rachel's mother. Now, if I remember correctly, not always is her mother called like Angela Azarath, but the fact that we got the Azarath tie-in to her mother's name is a very big teaser as to the background of all of this story with Trigon, Rachel's actual kind of home place, and her mother, you know, actually linking up with Trigon in the past to create this big entire mess. Now, ever since Rachel learned that her actual birth mother is alive, not the one at the beginning, if you remember, who got taken out, but this is her actual birth mother, the one who hooked up with Trigon. Understandably, Rachel was just like, I want to save her right now, and everyone's just like, that would be kind of unwise. We need to kind of recon it first. We need to do all of this. But impulsively, she's like, no, we need to get her whilst we still can. What if now that they know that we know about her, they might take her away? And this leads me to talk about Gar and Rachel, and I think I've said this every single episode. We've had them kind of actually together ever since Doom Patrol onwards. But I really like these two together. I really like how Gar was looking out for Rachel as soon as she stormed off. I really feel like these two have real good chemistry. Obviously the characters do, but not just that, the actors. They're just adorable together, but they are really innocently funny, and obviously it's written that way, but sometimes you would feel like you could tell if that's the case. But they do pull it off very naively and innocently. Like, I don't know, when Gar agreed to help her and he's like, we'll do it in style, and all he did was like nick Corey's or Dick's Uber card or something like that, and how she would be furious with that. Just little things like that. It's just really sweet, and of course they completely cocked this up, trying to rescue her own mother from a really well guarded place, so instantly they got captured, and this just instantly instantly reminded me when Dick like ran up the stairs and saw that those two had escaped and, well, tried to save her mum. He was really, really angry. And what this reminded me of is just, I don't know, when the Young Justice team or something like that would just go out and do something a bit reckless maybe, that the Justice League or Batman would just really facepalm about and just be like, why did you do this? But the ironic thing is all the Titans ended up getting captured this episode because they used like Gar's safety to threaten them. So we had Corey, who was being experimented upon because they just wanted to find out what she could do in terms of healing, in terms of her powers. It really messed up crap there. Dick Grayson was getting drugged and he was having even more flashbacks into Robin and his past with Bruce Wayne, which I'll get to a little bit later. Gar was just getting tortured this episode. They were trying to get him to show them his beast form and everything like that. So yeah, absolute horrible stuff going on this episode for each and every Titans member. Now, I think a lot of people thought that when Starfire was getting operated upon in this episode that it would be some flashbacks to her before she arrived on Earth, or maybe when she arrived on Earth and was getting experimented upon. But from the preview of next week's episode, it seems that we're actually getting Starfire's assignment or mission to go after and secure Rachel. So all of that will be happening in the next episode. Now, at the beginning of this breakdown, I was speaking of how a lot of people were thinking that this is about Robin and friends. And of course, we got some more Robin origin-y, mental psycho-y stuff this episode. And that's in terms of how he kept hallucinating his younger self. And I thought this was a really nice touch because even last episode they were expressing, or Dick Grayson expressed on how his life might have been so different if he would have just moved in with Clay and not Bruce Wayne. And in this episode he kept seeing his younger self essentially hate his older self for becoming Robin and what Robin did to them. And they demonstrated this through showing us the flashbacks to Wayne Manor and to that, even that specific moment where Bruce Wayne gave him that letter and it says, you know, I can help show you a different way because revenge, you know, isn't the right way. And that's when Bruce and Dick Grayson from there on out would train together and Bruce would train him to become Robin. We even got flashbacks to the Batcave as well, and I was really hoping because Dick even said Bruce out loud as well, but yet again it was his younger self. But I was really hoping we would see Batman, or just like a really obviously blurred Batman, but beating the crap out of Dick instead of his younger self. But this moment was really cool as well, because last episode we got the first glimpses of the Batmobile, but it was quite blurred out. But for some reason in this episode, it wasn't that blurred at all, so we got much better looks, even though they were slightly cut off and we couldn't see the full Batmobile. But it was still really cool to get a much more sharper and focused look at what the Titans version of the Batmobile looks like. Now, even though we didn't get a blurry Batman, I'm still not counting it out for this season. I think we still will get some kind of payoff. Like, you know how last episode, how blurred out the Batmobile was? I think, you know, we might get Bruce Wayne in the actual Batsuit at some point. I'm really hoping they could have done it perfectly in this episode. It would have been really good. He could have been just a shadow in the corner of the Batcave. But please, 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 Titans, give that to us. Let those leaked suit rumors before Titans even aired be true, and somehow chuck it in the rest of this season. Now, going back to even more Dr. Adamson scenes in this episode, he essentially revealed what, you know, this organization wants Rachel to do and how she can get Trigon out. And all that is through simply calling her father. If she calls him, he will come. Now, this brings me back to that Doom Patrol episode where that kind of interdimensional portal looking thing opened up when Rachel was in full demon freakout mode. I do wonder if that's what she has to do when she calls Trigon. Obviously, that didn't successfully like bring him in or anything, but I think that might be something to do with it, or something along those lines. And I thought this was a pretty stupid move, and albeit very predictable. When Dr. Adamson said, basically flexed that he's got her friends being tortured, it was very obvious that that would trigger Rachel to essentially helping them all escape, and that is exactly what happened. This was very graphical. It's not the first time Rachel's demon side has been this, you know, very violent, and she essentially undid the throat slit healing from what she did earlier, and he just bled out instantly, and she went ham to save all the rest of the Titans from here on out. But this is when Rachel goes to find her mother, Angela Azarath. She typed her location in the computer and she popped up because she's been staying in there this whole time. Now, the explanation behind that is they thought just in case somehow she could lead us to her daughter, Rachel, we're going to keep her alive. And so she has been there the whole time. She was talking to herself. You can't necessarily blame that. Plus all the other things they have potentially done to her across the years. I mean, this is the place where they create like the nuclear family, and, you know, they break people, as Angela said herself. So when she first saw Rachel and she didn't necessarily believe that she was real, she was like, yeah, this is like not gonna work. But Rachel showed her that mark she's had on her back, and that moment where we saw Angela, I don't know the name of the actress, but her like suddenly break and start like crying, that really hit me in the feels. Like, I don't know, I feel like when people act that well and you can really tell it's sincere, and she just realizes that this is her daughter in front of her. I don't know, man. That just melted my heart. And I was like, okay, this is where stuff is going to get really exciting. Rachel has found her mum, Angela Azara. We're going to hopefully learn a lot more from Angela, maybe in an Adonna Troy episode next week, in terms of, oh, I hooked up with your father. I was like in a cult. It wasn't the best decision of my life. But this is essentially why you have demonic abilities. Your father's quite an insane demonic person. Do you know what I mean? We've got all of this potential now to learn from all of this stuff. So in terms of Trigon teases this episode, hopefully will be fulfilled next episode. But I loved the next bit when they were going to save Beastboy. We've had quite a development for Beastboy. Now Gar, albeit can turn into a ferocious tiger, but he normally wouldn't hurt a fly, and he never has so much as bit anyone or anything before. But after getting tortured and tased and everything in this episode, it seemed that when he turned into beast form and, you know, he got saved by Rachel and Angela, he bit, well, I think he pretty much killed that guy, right? It seemed quite obvious. So that really, you know, sent Gar into shock after that, you know, as his first kill. I definitely feel like it has a bit to do with when he transformed into that tiger. You must feel that primal energy that he was speaking about when he explained before to Rachel what it feels like to transform into a tiger or an animal. So I think after being tortured, mixed in with, I don't know, the instinctual like feelings of the tiger, he probably wanted to rip that guy's head open. Then when Dick Grayson got saved, I got those Rachel feels again. I feel like they've done enough development between those two in this series already so far. It was just really, how else can I put it, feelsy. Even though in the next episode, if you've seen the preview for next episode, it seems that Dick Grayson's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go away for a while, but I'll see you guys later. It's like, what? And then of course they went to save Corey, but I just want to talk about that corridor fight scene. Now, I'm not exactly going to compare this to Daredevil or anything like that, but when the Titans were trying to escape with Rachel's mom, there was a load of guards or security people, whatever, coming in that corridor, and Dick just went absolutely ham. I loved this. It was so cool. He was just going through all of the pain. He was getting tasered, he was getting beat upon, but he still kept going, and he beat the living flying crap out of each and every one of them, and it was just really, really, really cool. I definitely have to applaud Titans on their cinematics and fighting choreography and everything. I know some people don't like the little blood splats and stuff. They think that is cheap effects, but come on, you have to give it to Titans. They've done such a good job with scenes like this. I also just loved how everyone was just standing there like, okay, thanks, but okay. And I feel like they really symbolize this moment of Dick Grayson leaving behind Robin for good. Now, obviously that was shown through the armor burning, his actual Robin armor burning. How did that get there? Did he bring his Robin suit in the box? They didn't really explain how that actually got there because he didn't arrive there in Robin gear. So I don't know, somehow that just ended up in the fire, because what they decided to do, since the gas pipes were leaking, is use Starfire's little flame that would thus then blow up the whole place. Now, this is what I'm very intrigued to find out from you people, is what do you think of that? The fact that they blew up this building, obviously with the gas leak, because people were in there. Albeit horrible people doing horrible things to people for plenty of years. But what do you think of the Titans definitely killing people here? Because those people who Dick Grayson just beat up were still on the floor. You had that lady who was possibly still in there, but maybe she did get away. We might be seeing her again. But I love that symbolism, like in the ground, where like you saw this little puddle and he was seeing his reflection of Robin, and it's like, it has to end. So he wants to move on from Robin. Maybe that was also symbolizing the end of how violent he is as well. And so the place blew up and the Robin armor was burning, and he was looking at that part of him burn, letting the past die, as Kylo Ren said in The Last Jedi. And I definitely felt like that is what Dick Grayson was essentially doing here. So now he is suitless, but it, you know, not so far away from getting the Nightwing suit. That suit is going to look really sweet, and I can't wait for that moment to come to fruition. And that, guys, essentially is the episode. There was nothing after that. So it was, this is what I mean, there wasn't so many story plot points throughout it, apart from the little bits that I mentioned, and the stuff that was setting up for even further Trigon development. So I definitely feel like this fits down to that example of how this series, even though I'm thankful that it's dropping week to week, because I don't like it all the time when series just drop at once. We have something to look forward to every week, but the way they filmed the season, I am intrigued to see if they do it slightly differently next season, is that if they would have dropped it all at once, it would have made more sense for episodes like this, which were blatantly meant to continue right after the last episode. I mean, at the beginning, they were still in Bruce's, safe house, and it was just literally picking up after the last episode. So if you would have watched one after the other one, and then when we get to next week's episode, Donna Troy, this episode wouldn't have felt as fillery as it did. It's just because we've got like a week in between, waiting between each episode, whereas the Donna Troy episode next week is going to be, I feel, the next plot development, I hope at least. Even so though, guys, I still really highly rate this episode, albeit that a lot didn't happen. I still feel like this show and a lot of people week by week are getting more and more interested. So I would love to know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know if you spotted anything I didn't. Do you agree with what I said, or do you disagree with anything I said? I would love to hear everything you have to say. I do read every single comment. I might not be able to get back to every single one of them, but I do read every single one. So definitely let me know your opinions on everything that happened in this episode. But let me know if you're as hyped as me for next week's episode. But other than that, guys, links as always are in the description down below, to my social media, to my Discord, to my Patreon if you want to support the channel a bit further, and my merch. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Titans in the next video. Goodbye.